All right, this is May 24, 2018. My title today is Where Are Gods? I wondered earlier today about the gods of the ancient world. That we were told in a lot of myths, but also in the scriptures, that many wars were fought and won by the power of, their blessing was sought for just growing your crop, blessing your children, blessing your land, and so on. Many kings went to war because of these gods. People even had to give up their children to be slaughtered sometimes for these emperors, for these kings. And where are these gods today? I'm not saying there were no gods in ancient times. Of course, there's been lots and lots of these little figurines and so on found that they said were the little gods that people worshipped. Even in the scriptures, like even if you look in Genesis chapter 31 and other places where people are searching for and fighting over their gods that they should not have had. But it's like the ancient world was so infused with this god culture. Everybody had their gods, like, every land, and sometimes many gods for one land, even in the millions. And a lot of these gods were actually just in mythology. They were never even sculpted, never even made. They were just taught by word to people. And since you're not going to have the power to let that God or the millions of them be infused in the minds of people if you're a commoner, that tells me that gods were the business of the ruling class, the elite priesthood, and the emperors and the kings, right? Basically the leaders. But somehow, even in the scriptures like the Torah, it's the regular people who bore the brunt, oftentimes, of worshipping these gods. Because the kings who were rich and the elite priests, if judgment is coming, they would have the massive money to just slip off through the back of the city and escape. And they leave the regular people to be slaughtered and the rest taken away into some kind of captivity or ruled over in their own land. So the rulers were the ones who made up the gods, pushed the gods, and then took off. But of course sometimes they were killed themselves. But a lot of times they could get away. But I wondered, where are these gods? The whole ancient world, country after country, had their special gods. Sometimes they shared the same gods as others, sometimes by slightly adjusted names and slightly adjusted stories, but you can tell it's the same gods. But where are these gods? Ancient times, Lebanon, Syria, for example. Just pick those two for now. Oh, okay, well, let's add Africa too, although that's a very large place with many, many different gods. But today you see Africa crying out for help. They want help from America, they want help from here, from there, whatever. Their gods aren't doing them anything. If they had all these gods that the stories tell us, even the scriptures tell us, that these people had gods in Africa, and they just had to work some seance and they had to do some kind of ritual kill a few children, and the priests would run around and march around and carry on. And somehow they would get the go-ahead from the God to go and fight, or they know how to, come out on top. But Africa suffers today. And nobody in Africa consults the gods of Africa and works their special magic to get the victory today from how Africa is impoverished. We see in Syria that Syria is just being brought to its knees. And in ancient times, the gods of Syria were very important. But nobody today works miracles by the gods of Syria that help them out. Even houses of worship are bombed, and their gods don't help them. Lebanon has been through its fair share of stuff, and they're still crying out. And as a person who is investigating the scriptures, now the Torah, while I feel for all these people, because really people shouldn't have to live through these atrocities, losing their children and so on. I can't remember, I think it was in Lebanon years ago, but I can't remember, it could have been one of the other countries over there in the Middle East area. A small child, looks to me to be about 7 years old, sleeping on the bare ground with no grass even, just bare brown dirt, between their dead and buried mother and father, just killed by bombs. And you just see the small mound of dirt to cover the hole where this boy's parents were buried. Nobody needs to live like that. Not a black person looking for freedom, treated as slaves, and not a white person either. I don't care what people want to say to me about the Torah. Nobody on earth deserves all this violence and wickedness and killing and bombing and so on. We've dreamed so much from a child and taught so much from a child about a world of peace. And everybody feels that their freedom is so important that it doesn't really matter how the next person from the next country or the next nation is being killed. When someplace in my heart just does not allow me to understand why people just need to be killed. Now, if there is some secret stuff that I don't understand yet in my studying the Torah, and I guess I just haven't learned it as yet. Does it mean that wickedness in a super gross way has not happened to our people? No, it's not. That's not what I'm saying. But when can we get to a world where there's no more fighting and killing and warring anymore? As I fail to believe that the God of the Torah wanted the world to be like this. Yet, as I thought about these gods, nobody in Africa, nobody in Syria, nobody in Lebanon, nobody in any country of the earth ever bothered to preserve these gods that can work miracles. Apparently the gods are still around. You see someone build a shrine here and there. People are going and they're bowing down and they're worshiping this or that god. Now they're putting up another god and whatever, Baphomet. Now they want some monkey god from India or wherever to be erected. You got all these gods that we've been taught are just in stories, but were once real. And today, they're just places where people just go and just worship and they build their lives around them, and they never do anything for you, not even the God of Israel, Yahweh of the scriptures, so-called Yahweh. does nothing for anybody. Now the Creator, that's a different story right there. Obviously, at least while we really do need some more help, the Creator made everything, the trees, the atmosphere, and so on. So we're being kept alive. So the Creator, we can tell his power is still real. He whatever. So whatever his plans are, his plans are. But why is it that these three countries I've mentioned, like Syria, Lebanon, Africa, in ancient times, even in the Torah, these countries with their priests had special ways, special seances and rituals, religious ceremonies to do that would give them power to make the rain fall, or power to win battles against their enemies. But today, when the war comes against them, the fighting comes against them, they cannot do these same rituals in order to give them power. I'm asking the question, where are the gods? Is it just the case that we were told a story that was blown up bigger than it really was? That there was really a culture of gods being worshipped, but they really weren't as powerful as the stories make them seem. Because I see people today still, when you read books and you look online and so on, people are doing their stuff, their rituals. And even in Jamaica, you had people that were doing their stuff, and but they didn't have any great power. Their power was more fear. So for me, the gods were used in ancient times by the rulers just to keep people in fear. Because the only way you're going to give up your child to be slaughtered 3,000 or 4,000 years ago is if you are afraid of the king. You're afraid that the priest will do something to you, let you come up with some boils or something like that, or get sick. Put some curse on your house if you didn't give up your child. But why did none of these priests or kings of ancient time become so smart to say, oh, the enemy is coming against us, just in case we're destroyed, because their God is more powerful than ours? Let us save the practices, the rituals, so that wherever we go to start life again, we can have the power of our gods again, so we can work the same rituals and get the power of the gods once more. Nobody works rituals that I can see today to give them power by their gods. Like you make a little figurine, a little 5-foot stone god or carved out of wood, and you bow and you pray before that thing, and it gives you power to do anything. If you do not understand history, I don't care how much they tell you people are worshipping gods and so on. People, when I look in history, even when you look at the European history and the Dark Ages and so on, if they did not pick up guns and use horses and cannons and so on to go and fight, no God worshipping would have helped them. God worshipping just helps you to unify yourself, and that's where religion comes in. Where are the gods that they told us of ancient times that did powerful things, that made the rain to fall? Looks to me like the Creator made the rain to fall. That's just like a built-in function of the earth and the heavens for rain to fall. Because you work some little ritual doesn't mean you're making the rain to fall. Now, if you can make the rain fall like that, then tell me how you do it. Show it, prove it. When people are having a drought, prove it. Where are the gods of ancient times that did all these things? But you know, the thought came to me, bombs are gods. Why did I reach that conclusion? Because gods were the all-powerful beings or figures of ancient times that could explain why things happened. So people went to war. If they got the victory, the gods blessed us because we sacrificed unto the gods. But if we lost, the gods were not pleased with our sacrifice. Well then, before you went to war, if your gods were not pleased, why didn't you redo it? Redo the sacrifice. So it's strange to me that the Torah would be telling us that people were trusting in these gods in that kind of way. Like even the children of Israel had many gods, which I find really strange. Your God just brought you out of Egyptian bondage and split water right in front of you, and you're clutching on to a little 5 or 6 inch statue and saying it's your God and it's going to protect you. Seems really silly to me that the Torah would present that. And I'm not just picking on the Torah, but I have to include it. It's just the world. The world has told us in all the history books about these gods of ancient times. And not one person on the earth can demonstrate that a 6-inch wood can do miraculous things. Not one person has shown that, as far as I have found. Not one. But if gods would be like the emblem or the symbol of victory and power, so if you had gods, or if you had many gods, but even just one powerful god, you had the victory. So where are the gods today? They're the bombs. Notice when they're killing off the Indians long time ago, when they're killing off anybody they're killing off, they came with better weapons and so on. The guns that indigenous people weren't used to, those were the gods. Today, they're the bombs, the big bombs. They got like Moab and whatever else they got out there. Nuclear bombs. Atomic and nuclear bombs. That's why they're stopping different countries from making their own nuclear bombs, because bombs are gods. Because if you have your own atomic bombs or your own nuclear bombs, now you got gods that can fight for you, that can possibly give you the victory or help less of your people to die, because the gods then would keep your people alive, because the gods would be shut out from the launcher and destroy your enemy, thereby either giving you the victory or giving such a blow to the enemy that less of your people will die. Bombs are gods. Why is it that no one today can worship? You see, the ancient world had a very strong culture of worshiping gods. And they told us all the time, even in the Torah, they'll get the victory and so on, if their God was better than the other gods and so on. But today, no country is shown in the newspaper, on the news channels, on the radio or TV. No country is shown on your favorite TV station with their gods that they're worshipping and pleading to give them the victory in the face of all the atrocities that are coming on them and the wars that are dropping bombs on them. No country wants to do that. You're telling me kings today, presidents, prime ministers today, know that in ancient times their land and their past kings of yester century offered sacrifices unto gods, little 6-foot statues, or they might have a 6-inch, or they might make a 6-foot or 10-foot statue and get the victory. And today they don't just go and make back that 6-inch or 10-foot statue and get the victory. So it seems to me that it was a fake thing we were taught of, that the gods gave them the victory in the ancient times and in the Torah as well. See, I'm investigating the Torah and these questions are just coming to me. Why did gods give victories to Philistines and Ammonites and Amalekites and so on? And today, these same people cannot get the victory from those gods that they still believe in today. Why are people not making back the gods? Because there's a trick somewhere. It's just religious teaching. But I'm telling you, today, bombs are gods, not wooden statues, not stone statues. Those are just to get you to worship and to unify under a certain belief system. Bombs are gods today. Or else, why don't people do the same rituals and make up the same gods? There's something fishy about that.